Recording in progress.
Okay, so we'll begin with the silent meditation. Please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning, Kazuki. Good morning, Sally. Okay, so next we're going to have the reading of the Golden Chain. Do I have anybody here that wants to come on up and read it up here? Kai, you want to come on up and read it? Okay, it's on the red book. You could grab a red seitan. And you could come right up and speak into the microphone, and the people on Zoom could, you could go up here. And you have to lower the microphone a bit so that it's on page 126 for those that are here. I'm a link in Amida Buddha's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I must keep my link bright and strong. I will try to be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will try to think pure and beautiful thoughts, to say pure and beautiful words, and to do pure and beautiful deeds, knowing that on what I do now depends not only my happiness and unhappiness, but also that of others. May every link in Amida's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Okay, put your hands together in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Okay, thank you very much, Kai. And next we will be chanting Gassho to Amida, which you'll find on page 123, I believe it was, in your red seitan. Yeah, Claire, make sure everybody's got one. Thank you. Maybe I could get Emma to help hand out the books too. There's people at the back that don't have books yet. Thank you. Way at the back. Way at the back. Thank you. Okay, so it's on page 123 of your seitan. And for those on Zoom, it's on the screen. Naman Nops, Naman Nops, Naman Nops, Naman Nops. gratitude. I got show to Amina, trees and grasses and flowers, all grow in great compassion. This light shines throughout the world. I got show to Amida. Flowers bloom and flowers fall. From the sea sprout new flowers. This is a truth unchanging. I got show to Amida. Springtime brings the happy birds. Their songs all praise Amida. I join them in Nembutsu. I got show to Amida. When I call Amida's name, it's Amida calling me. Buddha's voice, my voice are one. I got show to Amida. When I'm lonely, I recite Namo Amida Butsu. Then I feel great compassion. I got show to Amida. Nembutsu in work and play. Every day with Amida. Every moment filled with light. I got show to Amida. Remember the golden chain. Kindness to all living things. Follow this teaching. I got show to Amida. In the clear bright morning sun, in the fading light of day, in the darkness of the night, I got show to Amida. Namo Amida Butsu. I live in great compassion. This great power guides my life. I got show to Amida. Okay. So this morning, I've been asked actually from my sister who is in Vernon. Does anybody know where Vernon is? Yeah, some of you know where Vernon is. It's in the interior of BC. Anyways, because we have the kids from the different different places joining us via Zoom. Oh, maybe I'll bring it up on the screen. Okay, right now you can't see any of the kids, but there are actually a few kids I think that are joining um, from afar, and they're going to be doing an activity after the service. You guys are going over there to play some games with the seniors, but the people on Zoom, they're going to be doing a different craft, and I think they're making some kind of a lantern. So my sister asked me to tell the story. I actually told it just about a week or two ago for the adults, and I think some of you kids have heard this story before too. But so I'm repeating myself. So don't think that Reverend Grant's gone senile, and I'm giving the same talk over again. It's not that I was specifically requested to give this talk. So, and it happened around the time of the Buddha. This is 2,500 years ago. So many years ago. And the Buddha and his followers, they were visiting this village, and they were staying at a monastery just at the edge of the village. And as was the customs of that time, people who went to see the Buddha, they would take gifts. So if you look at our altar, can you see what's up there? What kind of fruits are up there? An apple. What else do you see? Kazuki, what do you see up there? Can you see up there? Can you see the apple? What other fruit is up there? Look. Okay, Tisha. Who wants to tell me what else is up there? Admit. Orange. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Rat. Uh, Orange. Yes. So these are offerings. Okay. So they're gifts. And just like that, when the Buddha was alive, people would go and give gifts when they went to visit him. So there was a mother and a daughter who lived in the village, and they wanted to go and see the Buddha, but they were very, very poor, and they didn't know what to give as a gift. So what they thought and thought and thought about what they can do, and the daughter came up with the idea. They both had very long, beautiful hair, and the daughter said, "Why don't we cut our hair and sell it? And with the money we make from it, maybe we can give the Buddha something." So they cut their hair, and they got a little bit of money, not too much. But instead of getting food, they could have gotten food. They were very poor. But instead of getting food, they went to the lantern shop, the oil shop, to buy a lantern for the Buddha. Now, the gift of light at that time was very precious. Okay? Not like today where we could just switch on the light. Everything was done by lanterns and oil-lit lanterns. So they went to the store to buy a lantern for the Buddha. But the shop owner looked at the amount of money they had, and they said, "No, that's not enough to buy a lantern." And so the mother and daughter were kind of disappointed. And the store owner saw their disappointment and said, "Well, here's what I can do." He said, "I can give you this shell. And in that shell, I could put in a little bit of oil and a wick. And you could take that to the Buddha." So the mother and daughter decided, okay, well, it's better than nothing. So they received the shell with the oil and they took it to the Buddha, where he and his disciples were. But to their shock and surprise, the hall that the Buddha was sitting in, it was filled with lanterns. Some of them very, very elaborate. See the ones up on the ceiling? Something like this. Very fancy lanterns. And so they were kind of embarrassed because all they had was a shell. But then when they approached the Buddha bowed just as he did to everybody else and received the lantern respectfully, and he put it amongst the rest. Well, that night they had a huge storm, a windstorm, just like the one we had last night here. Did you hear the wind howling last night? Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Well, as the wind howled, one by one, the lanterns started blowing out. And in the morning, there was only one lantern that was still lit. And that was that oil, the shell that the mother and daughter had given. And the Buddha said at that time that this was a gift that was given truly from the bottom of their hearts. And that's why it stayed lit. Do you remember me telling you this story? Some the parents do. Your kids may don't seem to remember. Hi, you remember? Okay, yeah, yeah. So that I was requested to give that story. Okay, what was the story trying to tell us? What do you think? Do you ever make crafts for your mother or father on Mother's Day or Father's Day? Yeah. And are they happy when they receive it? Yeah. Do you know why they're so happy? Because it's made from love from you, right? Right? It's better than anything you could buy at a store when you receive it from you. And so this is similar to in the case of the Buddha. He realized his mother and daughter, even though there were some very fancy lanterns, right? It meant more for the mother and daughter to give this one little gift, simple gift. So it's just talking about true giving and compassion. Okay. So I hope that you will remember about true giving. Giving from your heart is very important. And when we come to the temple, we give from our heart too. Yeah? Because when you're listening to me, if you're listening to me from the bottom of your heart, then I'm thinking, oh, I'm so happy that they're listening to me. But if you're not, if you're falling asleep while I'm talking, then I know, oh, they're not listening to me. But you guys always listen to me, so thank you so much. Okay. So we're going to close this portion of the service with Gasho, and we'll have Claire and Chloe come on up to the front and lead us in Gasho. Come on up. Come on up. Okay, and face this way. Face everybody. Put your hands together. Okay. Gasho. Okay. Read after me. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. Thank you. And now the kids and some of our seniors are going to go over to, it's actually the very far room over here. Okay. There's tables set up. Okay. And you guys could, you might have to go through the main door first. Actually, mom's here. So can you help them go through the side door there? Yeah. Okay.
Reverend Grant, will the LDC Dharma School students now leave this Zoom invitation and join the Zoom invitation that I sent out from the LDC Dharma School?
Right. So just the Dharma School students that are on Zoom, you can now log off this one and join the other one because you're going to be doing your crafts. And for the rest of the Zoom people, don't log off. Stay on, please, because we have, as soon as the kids here go to their activities, we're going to have Roy Akuna Sensei give the Dharma talk here to the adults. So please stay on here for just a moment longer. our Hondo emptied out now. So this week we have our Dharma school kids. They've brought some games from their homes that they can play with the seniors, as we believe that the interaction with the seniors is a good thing for them. So they're going over to the senior home that we have next door, and they're going to be doing some activities together. Okay, so just hang on a second. I'll have Roy since come. Just Roy先生お願いします。
All of a sudden, the place is empty. They know a good thing, don't they? Anyway, good morning, everyone. And there are one person left in the Hondo, and Reverend Grant. But the major audience is in the Zoom. So to you, good morning, and let us all put our hands together in Gassho, shall we? Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Yeah, it's good to have a change of pace. Sometimes we are able to glean certain ideas that perhaps comes from a different person. And what I'll try to do is to provide a different perspective, I guess, in the Dharma talk that many of us have been accustomed to. And that is that I'm going to try and relate catalysis, or the science of catalysts, to Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. But before I get into that, I'm going to begin my Dharma sharing with these words. It's called "The Bits of Rubble Turn into Gold." And it was composed by Tzu Min, the Chinese Pure Land master in the 8th century. And if you could perhaps lend your ear to this. The Buddha in the causal stage made the universal vow. When beings hear my name and think of me, I will come to welcome each of them, not discriminating at all between the poor and the rich and well-born, not discriminating between the inferior and the highly gifted, not choosing the learned and those upholding pure precepts, nor rejecting those who break precepts and whose evil karma is profound, solely making beings turn around and abundantly say the Nembutsu. I can make bits of rubble change into gold. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Some of you may have heard those words. It comes from Dr. Ken Tanaka's book. And he uses that in his introduction to one of his chapters. But anyway, catalyst, catalyst is a scientific word. And, people say, well, how could it be related to a non-scientific situation, particularly in this case, religion or Buddhism? And but before I get into that, let me just describe to you, or to define to you, what it is a catalyst. And a catalyst is an agent, or it could be a substance, or it could be even a person, or it could even be an idea that brings about a change or brings about a reaction. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples from a scientific perspective and how we can relate that to a non-scientific situation, such as in our case with Jodo Shinshu. I can remember when I was first teaching chemistry, first year university chemistry, and one of the things I wanted to do was to catch the attention of people. It's a very, very simple experiment, but it did catch the attention of the students. And what you do is you take a flask, or you could take a glass container and put in hydrogen peroxide. And when you put in hydrogen peroxide, and then you add what they call potassium permanganate, and as you add the two together, a reaction takes place. And as you observe this very carefully, you'll see a bubbling taking place within the flask. And then suddenly you see a mist rising. It's like smoke rising from the flask. Well, that smoke is really a mist. It's composed of oxygen and moisture. And so what has happened in this case here is the potassium permanganate has created a situation where the hydrogen peroxide is now converted into oxygen and water. And we can go into the chemical, the breakdown of this. But the important thing is that the hydrogen peroxide has become water and oxygen. Another situation that I think is more close to the hearts of people who are really, who like to bake. And if you bake bread, what are the ingredients that go into making bread? Well, there's flour, there is yeast, there's salt, and I think there is some water. A very, very simple formula. And so you mix the four, and you put it into the oven, and as time goes on, you begin to see that the combination of all of these four substances becomes a bread. It's risen. But have you tried to do the same without yeast? And I think you're going to get unleavened bread. It's flat. In fact, it might be something like sourdough, because sourdough, I don't think they use yeast. I could be corrected, but I don't think you use yeast. But in the case of the regular bread, we use yeast. The yeast now has brought about the change whereby there's substance in there which now creates carbon dioxide. And it's that carbon dioxide that gives that fluffiness to the bread. And here we find this beautiful aroma. So those are two classic examples. Well, another one that I can give you is catalytic converters on cars. I mean, we find and we hear about people stealing catalytic converters from cars. The catalyst in the catalytic converter is really platinum, very, very expensive substance. And that platinum converts the hydrocarbon from the organic fuel into carbon dioxide, water, and also carbon monoxide. And so what has happened there is there's an organic exchange taking place. And so here we find platinum to be the inorganic catalyst. Well, then, the question is, why is Roy talking about this, and how does it apply to Buddhism or to Jodo Shinshu in particular? What it is that there have been not scientists, but psychologists who have been saying that a catalyst could also be a non-scientific substance. And let me just quote to you what this person said. His name is Rox Bartel, and he's a psychologist. And he said this: a catalyst could be a person or thing that precipitates change or creates a reaction. And so in Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, how does it apply? Now, in religious situations, human behaviorists have researched and found that there is a catalytic impact in which the performance of individuals can be elevated, or there is change in the behavior of people. So now you're beginning to see the emphasis of my Dharma sharing this morning. The catalyst in this particular case, in our particular case, is a person. And this person, I believe, has brought about a change in this respect, or can bring about a change in this respect. We have a mission, a magnet that motivates people. We have a mission which reminds others of the importance of this mission and what is at stake. And we find this mission promoting a belief in what can be achieved. Now, I don't have to say the person's name in this particular case. I'm sure you know what and whom I'm talking about. It's Shinran. And the part that is also connected with this would be the idea, the concept of Nembutsu. I see them associated together, Shinran and the Nembutsu. If you look at Torah, let me just refer to page number 78 of the teaching of the Buddha as a reference. And he says this: Buddha nature exists in everyone, no matter how deeply it may be covered over by greed, anger, and foolishness, or buried by his own deeds and retribution. Buddha nature cannot be lost or destroyed, and when all defilements are removed, sooner or later it will reappear. The Nembutsu, as we recite the words of the Nembutsu, Namo Amida Butsu, we may do it verbally, or we may do it just intuitively. But the Nembutsu becomes a catalyst. It brings about a change in people. And how does it bring about the change? First of all, the Nembutsu, as is referred to in many texts, it's a calling voice of the Buddha. It is not my voice, but it is a voice coming from within me, the Buddha nature that existed within me, that is calling out, Namo Amida Butsu. And so as we hear these words, Namo Amida Butsu, we begin to internalize that, and we begin to realize who we really are. And as Shinran says, I am that Bombu. And some people may say it's an Ichantaka, an ignorant person. And as described here, full of passion and desires and self-possessions. And so we realize who we really are. And as that realization takes place, we respond by saying Namo Amida Butsu in form of our gratitude, thankfulness. Thankfulness in that it is this process through the Nembutsu which has brought about this change in my behavior. And so this, I think, is a catalyst. And as Dr. Bartel says, it can bring about change. It is not just a scientific substance. It can also be a non-scientific substance. Some people say it is emotion, but I don't think it's emotion so much as it is. It's an external subject that has been brought into ourselves, and it brings about a change. And that change is we begin to realize who we really are. And as we begin to realize who we really are, we begin and we entrust ourselves in Amida. as the one who is going to, I hate to use the word save, but to bring about this change in behavior. And so, a catalyst, yes, I think it is applicable to Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. I'm going to take a statement from the Tanisho, and you've probably heard it before. And this is what it's stated by Yuimbo. Despite our Bombu nature, we rejoice in the fact that one can rely unequivocally on Amida to save us. We hear the voice saying, "Come, just as you are." Furthermore, even the good person attains birth in the Pure Land, how much more the evil person? And we respond in the form of thank you through the Nembutsu. James Dobbins says this in his text, Jodo Shinshu in Medieval Japan. The catalyst, or something similar to this, is an organic link that brings about the chain existence between the faith, Nembutsu, and gratitude. The linkage of these three, which were first propounded by Shinran, had important ramifications for the life of faith. And so, referring to these scholars and other Buddhist leaders, there is no question that the Nembutsu is a catalyst. It brings about a change in our behavior. From the collective works of Shinran, it is that person who deeply entrusts himself to birth through the Nembutsu and undertakes to say the name who is certain to be born in a true fulfilled land. And so, again, a little different point of view on Nembutsu, but that's my perspective, that it is a catalyst and it can bring about a change in our behavior. And so let us put our hands together then and conclude my Dharma talk for this morning. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you everyone for listening and have a good day.
Thank you very much, Roy Sensei, for that very interesting perspective on things. Turning rubble into gold. I guess we can also say that Amida Buddha was an alchemist by that. So, but anyways, thank you all for joining us. So, just to let you know, from next week on, the services will be at 10:30. That's what time our services were traditionally pre-pandemic, and some of our elders here, I think, prefer that time. So, from next week on, services will be at 10:30, and the next week and the following week, so December 4th and 11th, will be a joint English and Japanese service. We're going to be holding the Shotsuki services as joint services from now on. Some of our elders, although we have the 11:30 service, they have an internal clock, I guess. So they always come at 10:30 for the Shotsuki service, even though they only speak Japanese. So we decided we're going to do a combination English-Japanese. And then the 11th is the Bodhi Day service, and that will also be joint because we have our year-end party here immediately following the service. So that'll be a joint service at 10:30. Then 18th and 25th, we do not have services. 18th is our semi-annual temple cleanup. For those joining by Zoom, if you want to drive all the way out here to Steve to join us to clean the temple, you may, or you could clean your house. That would be a good thing to do. And then on the 25th, of course, it's because of Christmas Day that we do not have service here.
We will be holding services on New Year's Eve, but we will not be broadcasting it by Zoom because the point is to come and ring the temple bell, and I think you lose a little bit by joining by Zoom. So we won't be broadcasting that. The next service that we will actually be broadcasting will be January the 8th, will be the first Shotsuki for the year 2023. So again, thank you all, and remember next week will be 10:30, and I will be sending out invitations as well. So thank you, and we'll close the service with Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you all, and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sensei.
Thank
Come on.
you.